Hello and welcome to the Medicine Show. My name is Andrew Bentley and I am a clinical herbalist in Lexington, Kentucky. And I am here to talk to you about herbal medicine. And this is my mobile clinic, the Medicine Wagon. It is based off of the design of an Irish traveler bow top caravan, and I built it with the intention that it could be used as a mobile clinic or as a base camp for gathering medicine. And as we come inside, you can see on this side I've got it set up in apothecary mode. Whitewashed boxes stacked as shelving and different remedies on them. And then on this side I've got it set up in more of the living mode type of situation, a small bed, and with the boxes and so forth stowed underneath. And then in the back of the Medicine Wagon, there's another room which is designed as a clinic space. Got one section of it that's devoted to lab equipment, and it's got a table that can fold out here. And then on the other side, more of the clinical type equipment and another fold out table. So if you're not familiar with the concept of the medicine shows were a form of entertainment and salesmanship in this country from probably the early 1800s till up until about the 1920s or so. And they were traveling wagons that would go around with patent medicines, formulas, and so forth. And they would entertain people, get people engaged, and then tell them about these medicines that they were selling and try and sell them to them. And some of the time they were dishonest about what the medicines contained, or about what sorts of things the medicines were good for. So some of them were probably selling pretty good medicine, but a lot of them were selling basically, well, snake oil is the term that we've come to use. Some of them were actually selling some sort of oil that they were calling snake oil. Some of them were selling remedies that contained things like opium that were addictive and would maybe make people feel good at first, but wouldn't really provide any lasting health benefits. And some of them were selling just more normal things too. So basically they're remembered for being not very straightforward and for trying to sell things under false premises. What I want to do in this medicine show is tell people the truth about things and explain things the best that I can and not sell anything. So basically sort of the opposite of what people used to do with medicine shows. So in this particular installment, I just want to talk a little bit about what it is that herbalists do and how I feel like that has a role in the world of social justice and social change. So herbalists, the basis of it is that we use remedies made from plants to improve people's health. And that can take a lot of different forms, of course. But that's the general idea. And herbalists have been part of human society and culture since the very beginning. So there have always been herbalists, and there are lots of different ways of being an herbalist. There are many different lineages and traditions, many different ways of understanding how herbal medicine works and explaining that, different paradigms, you might say. So those can be very different from one herbalist to the next, from one time and place to the next. So it's very complicated in that way. Not all herbalists are the same at all. In my own practice, I use a whole lot of different remedies, and I work on the basis of structure and function, just basically with more of a modern Western understanding of physiology and phytochemistry and pharmacology and that sort of thing. Not all herbalists come from that sort of background, but that's that's what I come from, and so that's mainly how I work. But I don't think that that's necessarily the only valid approach, or the most valid approach even. It's just a particular approach that I find helpful and useful, and it's what I'm familiar with, and it's what I use. So when somebody comes to see me, I ask them a bunch of questions. I do a lot of physical observation, assessment, try and figure out what structures and functions in their body are working the way they need to be, and what structures and functions in their body need some additional help. And based on that, I try to give them some herbal remedies that will make things better for them. And the nice thing about this is, as far as when it comes to dealing with some of the problems that we have in society right now that are based around income inequality and basically the detrimental effects of the economy that we find ourselves in the midst of. The nice thing about that is, because the way of working for an herbalist is actually something that predates the existence of money, it's possible to practice herbalism entirely outside the world of capital, entirely outside of the world of buying and selling and so forth. Now, I don't exist entirely outside of that world, don't get me wrong. I, buy and sell things. I have bills that I pay and so forth. I have a business that I'm running, because that's how the culture I find myself in is working. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, and so there's some flexibility involved. If things changed and there was no economy and nobody was buying and selling anything, I would still be able to go out into the woods and find medicines and process them into remedies and give them to people who needed them, and barter those skills for other people's help, or just provide them and hope that someone would take care of me somehow. And that's essentially what people did. So our culture right now is not exactly in a state of collapse, but it is in a state of very extreme inequality, where there are some people who have no access to health care, and there are some people who have more or less unlimited access to it. And I think that if you are an herbalist, it is really incumbent upon you to do everything you can to try and help people who don't have access to other forms of healthcare. And if you're not an herbalist, but you are interested in herbal medicine, I really like to say to people that that it's more than you can ever learn in a lifetime to know about herbal medicine. There's more to learn than can ever be learned, but any amount of learning that you do on the subject is not wasted. And even a day's worth of learning can serve you for a lifetime. Even finding 10 herbs and developing a good working familiarity with what they do can make a huge difference to you and to the people around you in terms of being able to help with common problems that people have and making the lives that you touch better. And so I would encourage everyone who is interested to do that. Just start where you are and learn what you can, and use it as the opportunity presents itself. Thanks for watching.